Witness protection turned him into a woman. Part 1. Vanessa applies gloss to the pink lipstick, loosens her hair and arranges the wavy locks with her hands to give volume and fall to her shoulders. She stands up and takes one last look at her outfit in the mirror. Satisfied with the girl next door look of above-the-knee pleated skirt, simple black tank top, and 2-inch sandals for her first day of classes at the University of Vermont. She smiles to herself. It seems unbelievable that just 18 months ago, she was a high school boy with all kinds of problems and never even thought of wearing something girly. How could he have imagined that this was his path to happiness? Alejandro grew up in a good family. They weren't rich, but his dad's job paid enough to pay for a good private school, travel on vacations, and even for all kinds of unnecessary extracurricular activities. He was a great student. It was customary to get the best grades in school, and that did not keep him from sports activities. Although his weight and height were always very low, he participated in the volleyball and basketball teams. Everything was pointing to a great future until his dad got sick. Within a few months they spent what little savings they had on experimental drugs and treatments that insurance didn't cover, and by the time he finally died, the family was bankrupt. His mother did the only thing she knew how to do well. She fell in love with the first man with money she found and married him, thinking that she could replace Alejandro's father or at least have a good provider to maintain her lifestyle. The second objective was achieved, and with that, she was willing to justify anything her new husband did, including the lack of attention and even mistreatment towards Alejandro. As expected, during the first years of his adolescence, and now without his father, Alejandro began his search for identity and acceptance. Like many, he went through different groups, from scato and emo groups to theater and music groups. In no group did he really seem to fit in, and for the same reason, he never made any real friends. The only thing that remained constant was his participation in the volleyball and basketball teams, in which he stood out even with the obvious disadvantage represented by his short stature. Obviously his school grades dropped and his family relationships were getting worse and worse. Jose, his mother's husband, had a good idea to send him to study high school at a private school in Houston, TX. It was a private school attended by the children of big businessmen and well-known politicians. One of them was the son of the President of Mexico, who was nicknamed the Cupcake for being fat, short, and chocolate brown with colored hair. For Alex, the new school did not represent big changes. His social skills had not improved, and the fact of living alone in a small apartment with the limited budget of a student did not help to make friends in an environment of rich teens. Alex felt more alone and rejected than ever. He knew that if he wanted to be accepted into that group, he needed money, a lot of money, and at 15 years old, the only advantage he had was having a Mexican driver's license. It didn't take much research to learn that through this guy, nicknamed Cupcake, you could do jobs that would earn you quick money. The first time, he was only asked to drive to Reynosa, pick up a package and deliver it to Cupcake in Houston. It didn't take a genius to know that this was drug trafficking, and that it was a felony, but the president's son assured him that they had all the police bought on both sides of the border and that it would be the easiest $500 to get in his life. During the first few months, Alex got to know a little about the organization he was working for and some other young people involved in relocation. One of them was Kevin, his classmate at school, from a rich family and without any need to get into these problems. For him it was a kind of adventure. In just a few weeks, Alex was assigned different activities that allowed him to understand a little about the size of the business they ran. Sometimes they sent him to Mexico driving vans loaded with illegal weapons, sometimes they sent him driving from Houston to Los Angeles, or all the way to Chicago delivering packages and collecting money in almost every city along the way. This is how he found out that in each city, police officers, dealers and even consumers served as surveillance for the organization. No one could hide from them. In addition to their direct relationship with the Mexican government, they controlled the police and politicians from all over the USA, and they had eyes and ears in every town or city. No one could betray them. The proof came when Kevin, his school partner, told Cupcake that he could no longer continue making transfers because he was going with his family to live in Australia. 2 days later, his body was found dumped on the side of a road. Alex knew he was trapped and there was no way out alive, but at least he was making good money and was still able to fool himself into thinking he wasn't hurting anyone because he was just a driver moving merchandise from one city to another. The problem began when they asked him to go to Matamoros for a truck that he had to take to Atlanta. It seemed strange to him because normally he transported packages in his car or in rented cars, but if this time it was a truck, surely the shipment would be important. In Matamoros they gave him a dry box truck with chocolate La Rosa signs and they only told him that if they asked at the border or any police officer, just say that it had cupcakes. Indeed, when the border agent heard that, he gave him free passage and even wished him a good trip without asking any more questions. A couple of hours later, while driving on Interstate 10, he began to hear noises from the back of the truck. Obviously it wasn't a mechanical failure, but he was worried that the merchandise would be damaged in some way and that would cause him problems, so he decided to pull over to the side of the road and see what happened. When he opened the box door, he had to face all his bad decisions in one fell swoop. Inside there were no drugs or weapons. There were more than 12 boys and girls between the ages of 3 and 10. They all looked dehydrated and terrified. He asked them what they were doing there and only 2 of the older ones could answer that they had been kidnapped days ago in different cities throughout Mexico, Venezuela and Honduras. He just told them not to worry, closed immediately and drove on for a few minutes. He didn't want to believe that he had gotten involved with kidnappers and child traffickers. He knew that betraying the cartel meant death, but he was clear that he could not live knowing that he had participated in something so despicable. The only good thing is that he still had a few hours to decide what to do without anyone starting to look for him. At the next gas station, he bought a disposable phone and after thinking about several options, he decided to call the FBI directly. More than 30 minutes passed before someone took his call seriously and put him through to Agent Ivan Castello from the Human Trafficking Prevention Unit. He explained that he was transporting a group of boys and girls kidnapped in Latin America by the Lopez cartel. He also explained that if the information reached the cartel before the children were handed over, neither he nor the children would survive. Ivan immediately understood the seriousness of the situation, gave him a phone number to communicate directly with her. They agreed to meet at the New Orleans police station and told him that the phone could already be tapped by the cartel, that he had to throw it away, change the route and be aware of any car that could follow him. Alejandro followed all of Agent Castello's instructions. When Alejandro arrived at the police station, a couple of officers guided him directly into the gated parking lot. There, in a space already prepared, Agent Castello was waiting for him, and a couple of ambulances to attend the children, a group of social workers and several police officers who were guarding the area. Alejandro opened the truck back and the children got out. There were 17 in total, all with symptoms of dehydration, but relatively healthy and safe now under the responsibility of the FBI. Special Agent Castello asked Alejandro if he had any information about the cartel's activities and leaders and if he was willing to testify in court. He assured her that he was willing, but that he was also certain that it would not be possible. He explained that there was nowhere to hide and that the cartel would kill him before he could testify. She told him about the witness protection program and assured him that if he was willing to testify, the FBI would protect him from then on. Alejandro, disgusted after seeing those children kidnapped and undoubtedly victims of abuse and forced prostitution, was willing to testify even knowing that FBI protection would be of little use. He spent the next 4 hours giving all the facts about the cartel leaders, their relationships with corrupt governments and police, addresses, and everything he could remember at the time about the cartel operation. While that was happening, the FBI was coordinating a national operation to seize drugs, free children, and arrest cartel leaders in different warehouses, offices, and safe houses across the country. It was already getting dark when Agent Castello finally asked 2 police officers to take him to a safe house where they would keep him under protection until the trial. They left the police station in a black Dodge Charger without police insignia. On the road, a white van blocked their way and forced them to stop at the same time that a car stopped behind them. 2 men with automatic weapons got out of the van and shot the Charger. Alejandro knew they were being ambushed since he saw the van coming. That allowed him to hide between the seats to avoid the first burst of fire and get out to escape. The 2 policemen were dead. He ran to a shopping center that was on the corner hoping to get lost among the people. From there he called Agent Yvonne to inform her what was happening. She told him that he was safe inside the mall, to stay in the food court, among the people, until she arrived with a group of undercover agents to help him out. In less than 5 minutes, Yvonne arrived with 2 other agents. I told you they would never let me get to the trial. They have people everywhere. We are going to go out together directly to the car that will be waiting for us. The group of agents surrounded Alejandro and guided him towards one of the doors. They had barely taken a few steps outside the mall when the first 2 officers went down with a shot to the head each. Yvonne reacted immediately and pulled Alejandro into the mall. It's no use. This is costing too many lives. They're going to wait until they see me out. They will never allow me to testify against them. Alex told her. Yvonne thought about it for a moment. And if they don't see you leave? They are going to come in and they are going to kill more people. Yvonne began to walk, pulling Alejandro. If they don't find you, they can't do anything to you. Come with me. She took him to Macy's and they went straight to the changing rooms. On the way, she explained that, so far, the operation was a success, that they had rescued more than 30 children, confiscated drugs, and arrested several leaders, but in order to try and imprison them, they need his testimony. They reached the locker room. He went into a cubicle and said, "Take off all your clothes and wait for me here." Alejandro began to undress, doubting that a simple change of clothes could save his life, but he couldn't imagine Yvonne's plan. A few minutes later, Yvonne arrived with a bunch of things that she put on a shelf. Alejandro saw a flower print and lifted the first item to see it. It was a loose, calf-length A-line skirt with pleats at the top. "You are crazy? I'm not going to wear that. If you prefer to be killed, wear what you want and forget about my help." "No, but listen to me well, boy. There are 4 agents out there who died protecting you. I am not going to lose anyone else because of you, and I am not going to lose the opportunity to prosecute the bastards who kidnapped those children. So stop arguing and do exactly what I say or you stay by yourself. Is it clear?" Alejandro, understanding the situation. "Yes, sorry." Yvonne watches him. "We have little time, but I think I calculated well. You are more or less my size and weight, so everything will fit you. Put this cream on your legs, from the feet to the knees." Alexander obeyed. "If you have chest or underarm hair, put it there too." "I don't have any on my chest yet," Alex said sadly. "That's what I figured." She hands him some panties. Alejandro takes them and looks at them uncertainly. "Do I really need this? I hope no one sees my underwear." "Don't argue. If you wear your male underwear with that skirt, everyone will notice. Put them on and try not to show anything there." For Alejandro, the sensation of slipping the panties over his legs, which by this time were already as shaggy and smooth as any girl's, was unexpectedly satisfying. It was a strange and unsettling emotion for him, but he didn't have the time or courage to explore what he was feeling. Next, Ivan handed him a bra with transparent straps. Alex made an effort to put it on, but Ivan, a little desperate, helped him close it. "You're going to have to learn to dress and fix yourself. I can't be your babysitter all the time," Ivan said as she put the silicone breast forms in the cups. Alejandro did not quite understand why he would have to learn. He supposed this was just to get out of the mall. "No, the top and the skirt. Can you alone or do you need help?" "I guess I can by myself." "Good. I'll go for some other things and come. Save the labels to pay for everything." Alejandro stayed in the cubicle putting on his skirt and the top that was strapless and with the same pattern as the skirt. In the cubicle there was no mirror, so he couldn't tell what he looked like. He just imagined a gorilla in a dress and thought that this whole idea was ridiculous. Ivan returned, gave him an approving look, handed him a shoebox and put more things on the shelf while she talked on the phone. "Yes, I need perimeter surveillance at all exits, a couple of groups of agents and vests who pretend to leave here guarding someone and a young undercover man, at least 6'1" tall, who can pass for a university student. Tell him to buy 2 tickets for a movie show. I'll meet him there in 30 minutes and I'll take his date." Alejandro, who was putting on his white 1-inch heeled sneakers, looked at her trying to understand what was she planning. That's all for today. If you like this story, check the channel for more, like and subscribe.